Hi, welcome to our YouTube channel here at Mundelein Church of the Nazarene. If you've been with us, you know we've done a number of series up until this point. And to be honest, we've kind of been silent for the last month or two. And the reason why is actually quite simple. We're just not sure which way to go with this next. There hasn't really been anything that we feel pressed to say. And so we think it's best to stay silent. We don't want to just put out content for the sake of putting it out. And so as we seek a new direction and find things we think are worth saying, we'll say it. And we might have a new series in the future, but right now we've just taken a pause while we think about which direction to go. Today, however, we think we have something to say. And I tend to think it's important, and to be honest, there's very few people saying it. In fact, it's hard to find any voices saying it right now. And so if that's the case, let me raise our voice gingerly into this larger debate about a whole host of things. We're part of this Wesleyan world of Christianity. And one of the things that we talk about is a middle way. We try to stay in between the extremes that exist on both positions. On one side is this idea that when you come out of church, you should feel beaten down and you should feel guilty and terrible every week because you cannot possibly do anything good. Wesley himself was reacting against exactly this kind of Christianity in the 1700s that said, you are a worm, you are worthless, you sin every day in word, thought, and deed. Therefore, you have nothing good to bring to the table at all. In our world, that represents the world of fundamentalism and legalism that tries to legislate every action of life because really you have nothing good to offer. You still sin every day in word, thought, and deed. There are still hymns that we sing with some of the words that say, would he devote that sacred head for such a worm as I? Well, that is overly harsh. And so we want to avoid that extreme. At the same time, we also want to avoid the extreme that humanity is good. We're born good. Really there's no such thing as sin. There's just a lack of education. If you just learn a little bit more, you will naturally rise to your good level. We also want to avoid the idea of cheap grace. If you go to church and never feel challenged, if you never feel convicted about some part of your life, if you never feel challenged to change or transform some fundamental part of who you are, then probably not a lot good is being done either. We want to avoid this idea of cheap and easy grace, and we want to avoid this idea of there's nothing good that we have and we have nothing to offer in this world. We've tried to go this middle way. We believe that there is some image of God that remains within us, and what we try to do is have that restored in this idea of salvation and bring it fully to the front in this idea of holiness, that we can become devoted to God and have His Spirit so fill us that out of the overflow of the heart we might be transformed. And I hope you've had the opportunity of being around someone that exhibits that kind of life. I was so fortunate to live next door to a grandmother who lived that out every day. Of love and kindness and gentleness and self-control and love and peace. So now we find ourselves in the middle of a kind of a weird culture right now. We are living on the extremes. We live on the extremes where politically we live on the extremes. And we shout at each other. There's a middle way. And now we find ourselves in the midst of our reactions to a virus that screams for a middle way, and very few people are exhibiting that at all. I was part of a conversation in the last couple weeks where someone was expressing reservations about some of the things that are going on, and someone said, oh, you believe this is all a hoax. Well, that's not true either. Right now we have kind of two different reactions. We have a group on one side that says, all of this is a hoax, all this is part of some conspiracy theory, and we want to reject that. There's a real virus out there that is affecting real people. On the other end, we have people who are so fearful that they've literally locked themselves in the home. They see someone coming on the sidewalk, will veer into the street to avoid them. Folks, that's ridiculous too. There's got to be a middle way. And that's what we try to walk. We need to be very careful in our responses. We need to be aware that there are people, largely people who are already suffering from some other serious condition, who can be impacted. But we probably shouldn't be locking our 12-year-olds in the house either, because this really doesn't affect them. Yes, it's possible if we're in really close proximity for a long time to someone that we can get something, but probably shouldn't be treating people like pariahs, people we don't even know, staying 50 feet away. That is an overreaction. So we try to do a middle way. We try to love everyone. We try to respect people. If we're around the vulnerable, we'll go the extra mile. We'll cover up. We'll protect them. We're not going to treat people we've never met as if they threaten our very existence. So that's what we're trying to do. In every way right now, in the spiritual realm, we try to walk this middle way. In the political world, we can live in a middle way. We can love people on either side and not contribute to the acrimony. And in our response to the virus, boy, we need people who want to do, again, the middle way. And that's our commitment. And that's what we should be trying to do in a world that doesn't have many people in the middle way. We're being dragged on either pole, either extreme, all the time. How about let's be people that refuse to be drugged in either direction and try to walk this middle way. I don't want to get more specific than that, but let's all try to do that together. Hey, I hope you like this. If you do, subscribe to us, hit the like button, join us back, look from time to time. We'll be adding more content as we see things to say. But thanks for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you in the future.